Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, mask on, mask off, mask back on again. The Biden administration now trying to reinstate the federal mask mandate for public transportation that was struck down earlier this week. It is the latest action in a back-and-forth situation that has many travelers confused. While the Centers for Disease Control wants masks on public transportation, they've got a different policy for migrants coming into the U.S., lifting a measure that limited immigration during the health crisis. But many Republicans and Democrats worry the southern border could be overwhelmed. Plus, Russia's war on Ukraine plants the seed for a growing food crisis in several parts of the world. We'll explore the issue and the efforts to curb the crisis.
Unfortunately, this war in Ukraine has added, as they say, fuel to the fire or insult to injury.
And later, recording artist Michael W. Smith sends a musical message of hope to the troops on the battlefield. See what sparked his personal mission to Ukraine. And 3 major religions all under one roof.
We want to stand for the religious freedom for everybody. We want to roll our sleeves to feed people in our community, to heal people who are sick.
We'll take a look at this unlikely forum. All these stories and more coming up next from the CBN Newsroom.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
And we begin here on NewsWatch with the Biden administration taking legal action to reinstate the mask requirement for travelers on planes and other public transportation. It comes after a federal judge struck down that mandate Monday. Senior National Affairs correspondent Heather Sells has our report.
It's official. The Justice Department has filed an appeal in federal court, hoping to require people on planes and trains to wear masks. It wants to overturn a judge's order released Monday, which voided the federal mask mandate.
It feels just almost surreal in a way to see so many maskless people in one spot.
On Tuesday, many travelers were thrilled with the new reality. Major airlines dropped their mask requirements, as did trains, buses, and rideshare companies. But the rules remained confusing. Some airports requiring masks, while others didn't.
It's really quite confusing.
The president of the Flight Attendants Union said reactions were mixed.
There are some people who are very excited because they don't want to have to wear the mask for 14, 15, 16-hour days. And they feel confident being vaccinated and taking steps to protect themselves. And so they're ready for this to go. But we also have other people who are immunocompromised, who have small kids at home, who are very upset that the rules got changed in a moment's notice.
The Biden administration's legal appeal came minutes after the CDC called for it. The centers had recently extended the mask mandate until May 3rd, worried about the new BA.2 Omicron subvariant. It is driving a rise in cases across the country after it was discovered in New York.
We're not panicking about this. We're not changing, but we also want to make sure that we're smart about this.
The White House finds itself in a tricky position, not wanting to anger a public that's tired of masks, but also wanting to uphold the CDC.
He is still abiding by CDC guidance, and we recommend Americans do that across the country. They're still recommending people wear masks on airplanes.
The appeal could take some time and the White House could lose. But if the Biden administration asks for an emergency stay to reimpose the mandate, travelers could conceivably be forced to put their masks right back on. Heather Sells, CBN News.
While the CDC wants to keep the mask mandate for travel, it has lifted Title 42 for the border. It prevented migrants from entering the country during the COVID health crisis. That has led to warnings the southern border could be overwhelmed. Already a new record, the number of people crossing into the U.S. legally in the highest in 2 decades, hitting a record 221,000 plus migrants in March. Republicans and a growing number of Democrats are opposing the move to rescind Title 42. CBN's Tara Mergener brings us this look at the pushback.
So far in 2022, nearly 2 million illegal border crossings, and we're only 4 months in. Reports are at least 300,000 have evaded Border Patrol agents as they are busy tending to migrant families, unaccompanied children, and a soaring number of single men. Now, 26 governors are coming together, hoping to bolster security. The effort is part of an expansion of the Arizona Border Strike Force, which has seized thousands of pounds of illicit drugs since it began in 2015.
The majority of the nation's governors are joining together to share information, to bring law enforcement assets, to use intelligence in our fusion centers so that we can stop this flow of dangerous drugs like fentanyl, which is the #1 cause of death here in southern Arizona among young people.
This as record numbers of migrants stream into the U.S. around the clock. With detention facilities overflowing, American taxpayers are footing the bill to drive or fly migrants deeper into the U.S.
What that does is incentivizes people to send their relatives, to call back home and send for more people. And that's the situation we're in now, the worst surge in the history of that southwest border.
Depending on whether President Biden ends Title 42, there's fear numbers that have been climbing since he took office will balloon to levels never seen before in the U.S.
Whenever Title 42 is lifted, there will be a surge.
Since 2020, the feds say it's kept 2 million migrants in Mexico while they await a court date.
35% support Biden rolling back those border controls. 54% oppose it.
While Republicans blast the idea of lifting Title 42.
These guys want to make it worse and release essentially everybody who comes.
Some Democrats concerned about political fallout are pressuring Biden to reconsider.
Not the right way of handling the border situation.
They add he's announced no plan for the new tsunami of illegal entries that would follow. This year alone, agents have caught at least 23 people on the terror watch list.
It's something that Americans don't think, that we should have an open borders policy. And that is the policy of the Biden administration, and all they do is make it more wide open.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott is taking the state's immigration fight to Washington, D.C. by sending busloads of asylum seekers directly there.
Joe Biden has refused to come to the border to see the chaos that he has created by his open border policies, so we're going to take the border to him.
Rather than deal with an immigration process that can take years, thousands of Russians and Ukrainians fleeing war are also entering the U.S. via the southern border, traveling to Mexico and then sneaking across with help from smugglers. In Washington, I'm Tara Mergener, CBN News.
The Republican-controlled Senate in Florida has passed a bill that would eliminate a special tax district that has given Disney World special privileges for decades. The tax district allowed the company to govern the land where its theme park is located near Orlando. The Florida House is expected to approve the measure as well. It is the latest step in the escalating battle between Disney and the state government after the business objected to the Republicans' parental rights bill, which forbids classroom discussion of gender identity and sexuality for children from pre-kindergarten through 3rd grade. Florida Democrats oppose revoking the tax district, which Governor Ron DeSantis announced was in the works earlier this week.
They also will be considering termination of all special districts that were enacted in Florida prior to 1968, and that includes the Reedy Creek Improvement District.
This bill is a knee-jerk reaction and a political stunt, which is short-sighted and not well thought out.
A majority of Florida voters, including Democrats, support the law, which critics have called "Don't Say Gay." DeSantis said at the end of March. No after-school Satan club at an elementary school in Pennsylvania. The Northern York County School District Board voted 8-1 against a parent's request for the club. According to the York Daily Record, the paper reports that hundreds of people attending the meeting erupted in applause when the vote was taken. The board included more than 2 hours of comments from citizens. One person at the meeting said, "More than ever, we need a God in this world and this proposal in the opposite direction of God." Russian President Vladimir Putin has ordered his troops not to storm the last pocket of resistance in the strategic port of Mariupol. Russian troops have besieged the southeastern city since the early days of the conflict and largely pulverized it. And top officials have repeatedly indicated it was about to fall, but Ukrainian forces stubbornly held on. In recent weeks, they holed up in a sprawling steel plant. Putin said for now he would not risk sending troops into the warren of tunnels under the giant plant, instead preferring to isolate the holdouts. Meanwhile, refugees have kept pouring out of Ukraine. The UN says the total is now more than 5 million since Russia's invasion began in late February. Now, as the war rages on, millions of Ukrainians have fled their country. CBN's Operation Blessing is providing them the assistance they need. You can help Operation Blessing in its disaster relief efforts. Simply call 1-800-700-7000. Let us know that you want to give to the Operation Blessing Disaster Relief Fund. You can also write us at CBN Center, Virginia Beach, Virginia, 23463. Simply note in the memo line of your check, Disaster Relief Fund. You can text us as well. Text OB Crisis to 71777 or visit our website, cbn.com, or Operation Blessing's website, ob.org. Anything you're able to do is always greatly appreciated. Coming up, some countries are affected more by food insecurity than others as a result of the war on Ukraine. We'll take a look at the growing crisis next. The war in Ukraine is causing a new global crisis. Russia and Ukraine produce about 14% of the world's wheat supply, and with many Ukrainian farmers either fleeing for their lives or joining the fight, a few are at home planting crops. Already, the world's most vulnerable children are at risk. On this week's episode of The Global Lane, Gary Lane takes a look at one of the hardest hit countries, the Middle East nation of Lebanon.
The United Nations reports half of the children in the Middle Eastern nation of Lebanon need humanitarian help. Even if they can find what they need, 77% of Lebanese do not have enough money to buy food. Here to explain more about this growing crisis is Camille Melki, the CEO of the Christian humanitarian relief organization, Heart for Lebanon. Camille, it's always good to talk with you. So, as if the pressures of hosting 1.5 million Syrian refugees is not enough, now the people of Lebanon are facing this new crisis. So please tell us from your vantage point in Beirut, how bad is it and why?
Yes, Gary, thank you for having me. Unfortunately, this war in Ukraine has added, as they say, fuel to the fire or insult to injury for Lebanon. Of course, we don't want to take anything away from the humanitarian crisis that's happening in Ukraine. Our heart breaks and aches for the people who are losing their loved ones, for all the destruction there. But we have to also remember Lebanon has been suffering tremendously in the last 3 years, at least. A terrible economic downfall that has caused our Lebanese currency to lose 97% of its value. Lebanon counts on 87% of its grain and wheat from Ukraine. After the port of Beirut explosion on August 4th, 2020, which totally destroyed the grain silos in Lebanon, we've been living off on a 1-month supply. And now when you have a war like you do in Ukraine, it's becoming very, very hard to get wheat, to get any oil, cooking oil. Prices in Lebanon are skyrocketing 10 times, 12 times more what they were a few months ago.
Can you share any specific examples of a family you've met, one that's in crisis?
Definitely, we at Heart for Lebanon have recently added 1,800 Lebanese families to our monthly food parcel distribution. We go on almost every day hearing stories of individuals like a lieutenant in the Lebanese army. His salary in US dollar value was around $2,500. That's a decent salary for a couple to live at a fair, good, relaxed living. Today's his salary is worth $85. He cannot even provide for his family. A lieutenant in the army now is driving a taxi in the evenings and in the afternoons to bring milk for his newborn baby. We need to be reminded that the body of Christ has two arms, has the arm of loving and caring on people with sharing the gospel, the message of peace that we find in Christ, but also showing his love in tangible and meaningful ways. A lot of people are asking questions, predominantly from Muslim and Kurdish backgrounds, asking, why do we care? Why would a Christian organization lend help to people who, in their eyes, would be considered enemies? Coming in and sharing the love of Christ with them in a genuine manner. We don't give anything conditionally. We don't intend to trade food for the gospel, but in fact, we want them to know that we bring that in the name of Jesus Christ. A lot are asking questions, and who is Christ? And you would see our Bible studies are packed full. Our worship gatherings on Sunday morning are packed full. Our Kurdish church is blossoming. A lot of people are coming to Christ because they are experiencing his love through his people.
Okay, Camille Melki, CEO of Heart for Lebanon, thank you, and may God continue to bless your efforts.
And you can watch an all-new episode of The Global Lane on the CBN News Channel tonight at 8:30 Eastern. You can also download the CBN News app and watch it on demand. Still ahead, they're from 3 different religions and have come together under one roof. See this unlikely forum. It's all coming up next. Stay with us. The Abraham Accords opened the door to friendly relations between Israel and several Arab Gulf states. This new dynamic could pave the way for peace between Christians, Muslims, and Jews beyond the Middle East. That's what one group in Texas is trying to make a reality. John Jessup shows us how.
For years, a phrase popular in Christian circles was, Christianity is not about a religion, but about a relationship. Imagine that concept and placing that premium on relationships, not just between God and people, but between people of different faiths. That's exactly what's happening right here in Texas, with sweeping impact made all the more striking in these polarized times.
This song says, living, he loved me.
This is not your typical Sunday service.
Dying, he saved me.
That's because it's not a worship service at all. Welcome to an unlikely forum on faith, bringing 3 of the world's major religions together under one roof.
I thought all Muslims wanted to kill me, and all Muslims were extremists, and all Muslims were bad people, and I found out I was wrong.
The goal, begin conversations, gain trust, and build relationships to solve problems big and small. This all evolved out of a friendship between an evangelical pastor and a Muslim cleric, sharing a desire to help religious leaders and their congregations see and treat each other as neighbors.
We want to stand for the religious freedom for everybody. We want to roll our sleeves to feed people in our community, to heal people who are sick, to bring understanding among our people. That's what it's all about.
For young people in attendance, that involved packing thousands of meals for area residents in need.
Everybody came in wanting to help and do something kind for the community, and so I think that united us all. That everybody was just here having fun and working.
One high-profile result of the movement came during January's attack at a North Dallas synagogue by a lone gunman.
The person we're most grateful for that came out of this was Rabbi Charlie Citron Walker. Come on, Charlie.
Pastor Roberts leveraged relationships with other faith leaders to bring calm to the hostage standoff and cement support across the faith spectrum.
In the aftermath of trauma, every message was an affirmation that our community was a part of the human family and that we're all in this together.
That message, endorsed by Trump, Biden, and Obama administration officials promoting religious freedom at a time when those freedoms are under attack and anti-Semitism is on the rise.
You can't address hatred against Jews without confronting hatred against all people. Every human being has a right to live with freedom in the peaceful practice of their religion.
A key driver in the multi-faith movement, support for a Muslim document called the Makkah Charter, promoting peace, denouncing terrorism, and advocating universal rights like religious freedom for all.
As a Jesus-loving evangelical, my goal is to say, hey, I'm grateful and excited that you're wanting to do this. I want to work with you because it has a huge impact on how Christians are treated all over the world.
Attendees, like this woman from Philadelphia, say highlighting our similarities is reassuring as America grows more divided.
When you focus on the things that you have that are more alike than different, you can have unity without uniformity.
While some see the effort as blending religious beliefs, organizers insist that's not the case.
This is about a deep relationship and commitment to friendship.
And it doesn't water down individual faiths.
It does not water down religion. That's why I call it multi-faith. This is like a salad bowl, not melting pot.
The people involved in the Multi-Faith Neighbors Network say this is not about syncretism, the blending of different doctrines, rather about starting a dialogue and building relationships with the goal of yielding real fruit, like the kind that was modeled here earlier this year at the Congregation Beth Israel, when the world witnessed a true sense of friendship and community when Christians, Muslims, and Jews came together. John Jessup, CBN News, Tarrant County, Texas.
Coming up, recording artist Michael W. Smith created special music for all those affected by the war in Ukraine. We'll have that story from him coming up next. Christian recording artist Michael W. Smith is responding to the tragedy in Ukraine with an inspirational single called Cry for Hope. In a statement, he said, quote, "After watching the news of the devastation, I was in tears. Then over the next few days, this melody just kept coming back to me and just spoke a message that no words could convey." Smith says the song was given to Ukrainian troops and the response was overwhelming. A portion of the proceeds from the single will go to aid for Ukraine. Time now for your Thursday Thankful. I hope you'll join me in this prayer of gratitude. God, thank you for your patience. You never grow tired of me. Learning and relearning your way is always best and better than my own. And in this moment, I am grateful. With this prayer, I trust you'll make this a Thursday full of thanksgiving from the very start to the very finish. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. And thank you so much for watching. We look forward to seeing you right back here, same time tomorrow. Make it a thankful Thursday. Goodbye and God bless.